Hello, this is David Henry Young. I'm continuing some stories. In this case, in 1970, when I was released from the Marine Corps in the early spring, and started hitchhiking across the country in early summer of 1970, beginning from Michigan. And I got a long ride to Butte, Montana. I've never been out those ways before. I'm from Massachusetts, grew up there, and really hadn't gone anywhere other than some of the places in New England. So it was noontime. I was very hungry. I had a long ride that had picked me up and drove me 600 miles, and got to Butte, Montana. A big giant sign going over Route 80. You are now crossing the Continental Divide. I had heard of that phrase in high school, but you know, I thought it was pretty special. Very little traffic, hardly any traffic at all. So I was driven by some young fellas, students, and they gave me a ride to Butte, and I right down into Butte on the main road, where there's at the end of the road there was a giant open pit mine where they mined copper, and there was a huge smelting operation there, and you could see the smokestack and the smoke from the smelting maybe 100 miles away. It was pretty amazing. Again, traffic was extremely light, and so they let me off at a little restaurant right in the beginning of the main road in Butte, and went in for a hamburger, and I sat down and I said, "Yeah, thank you. I'd like to have a cheeseburger and a Coke," and they wouldn't serve me. I may have had a field jacket on, I don't remember. I just remember being quietly shocked and with a very ugly spirit, like basically saying, "We don't want you here." And I said, "Could I have a cup of coffee?" "No." "Could I have a glass of water?" And she gave me a glass of water. I drank the water, and I walked out. And then I walked down the road to the road that leads up to Route 80. And you have to walk up. And I started walking. I was wearing my fry boots and jeans, and I had a little day pack on, a little orange day pack. And I'm walking along the breakdown lane, and it just started to slope downhill. There's a ravine on my right. There's the guardrail. Well, I'm walking on the outside of the breakdown lane on the line that separated the breakdown lane from the first of, I think, 2 or 3 lanes. And going, walking down and just kind of singing and, And all of a sudden, I heard this whine, loud whine of an engine, and I turned and looked, and I saw this pickup truck had on an angle, was traveling from the third lane over, angling to my lane where I was walking, and he was coming right for me. And in a moment, my eyeballs, I had an eye-to-eye contact with the driver. And I've seen hatred before. I've seen murder in people's eyes before. And it was utter wrecking murder in the back over his head in the cab. There was a 30-06 mounted. And I looked at him, and I just pivoted to the right and ran across the breakdown lane. And there was a guardrail, maybe 2 or 3 feet up, and I jumped over the guardrail and hanging on to the guardrail with one hand as I leapt over, and I could see maybe 10 or 15 feet, and then there was a drop off into a ravine or something. And I started skidding with my heels back and holding on, and I almost went in, and then I didn't, fall into the ravine. And I turn around, and there's nobody else is on the road, and fight or flight. Well, I'm into the flight mode, and all I could do was start walking quickly down the road, and the hill, the highway hill, and I immediately I said, "Oh God, he's going to go down the highway, get off, turn around, come up the other way, and park maybe on the side of the road, and and just shoot me." And that's what look. I just got out of the war. I've been through some stuff, and I'm terrified, but I'm scared. But it's I know what that's like in the war, and you just look for cover. Well, there's no cover, and I cried out to God. I'm not a Christian. At that time I don't pray, but I cried out to God. God, help me. And I wasn't running. I just was walking, and a moment later. This old black, I'd say jalopy, but it's a very old pickup truck. I've never seen one that old, painted completely black. And it pulled up to me. Now maybe between what had just happened and this happening, it was 5, maybe 10 minutes. I watched the pickup truck with the killer eyes, he almost wiped out coming at me, and he had to turn back real quick, and he went down the hill, Route 80, in a sustained attempt to control his vehicle, and he did. I didn't know how far down the road the off ramp would be to come back up the other, and then I turn around, and then this very old black pickup truck pulls up to me, and I look, and there's this much older man, hefty man, in a white T-shirt with white hair, and he said, "Get in." I said, "Yes, sir." And I get in the cab, and he took right off, and he told me that in Butte and in Montana in general, it's open season on hitchhikers to kill them. And again, did I believe him? You bet I did. And he told me about himself. We're driving down the road, and he said, I'm going to take you over to Whitehall, get in the hotel, get a bus ticket, Greyhound bus ticket, and get out of the state. And he had told me that weeks before, maybe a month before, a hitchhiker had killed a whole family that had picked them up, a station wagon scenario, and mom and dad and the kids, and just things you hear about it. You don't want to believe it, how badly it was, but yeah, and it was all over the state. Montana is a very, very sparsely populated state, and he said that's why. And so he dropped me off at Whitehall. I got out. It was I felt I was back in the 1880s in the West. It looked like something I grew up with, Wyatt Earp movies and things, and the type of a hotel it was. It looked like from that genre. And it was a bus station. I mean, the bus would stop at this particular hotel in Whitehall. It's not a big town. And I went in there, and I got my ticket, and I stayed there until the bus came, which was, 6 or 7 hours later, maybe longer. And I remember going through, I think it was North Dakota, which is like a state that borders Montana, late at night, and just praying. I mean, again, yeah, like you're talking to God, and oh Lord, help me, and thinking about going home and just singing and praying. It's just trying to get over the terror. And in the Marine Corps and in the war, you learn to deal with it, like a real quick kind of a terrorizing moment, and just gulp it in, take it, and no, it's the emotions are high, and you learn, and that's where I was at, and I just wanted to share that God saved my life again. It wasn't hard to imagine what was going to happen to me inside of 30 minutes or less. And this man, just drove up. He was a union leader in the Butte, the smelting operation for copper at the mine. And, I had no reason I didn't doubt it. He looked exactly the part. He was a union leader, and he told me what they did there. And I'm just thanking him. He said, look, I shared my life with him, and he shared what he was doing. And he said, look, just get on the bus and get out of the state. And that's what I did. And I eventually ended back up in Massachusetts a month later. But I just wanted to share that to share that God, knew me before I was even conceived. He knows my whole life. He's God. And he saved me again. And I'm thankful that I can share this with you, that he saves his own. And at that point, do I know that I belong to him, or that I'm destined to be born again and come into the kingdom of God and all that? No, I don't know any of that. I just grew up a Catholic, and I was a bad Catholic. Didn't go to Mass half the time. So I just wanted to share this, that God is so good to us. And if you see this and you what's Dave talking about, this, just give your life to Jesus Christ right now. Just give your life to him and ask him to come into your life and begin the process of straightening you out for the kingdom of God. He's coming back soon, and I'm just giving what I got, and I give it away. I have lots of experiences and stories of his goodness, where I should have died and just got, and he's just, I've been in horrible situations, and he's extricated me out of it over time. It's not, so anyways, that's all I want to say. So God bless you, and Semper Fi. Bye-bye.